Hello, this is Laura Dovalo from the blog Bagatelas de Papel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this simple and fun interactive card. Pulling the tab back and forth makes the girl dance. I used one of the stamps from the My Favorite Things Pure Innocence hula hoop set and partially stamped the legs, torso and head separately, using Copic-friendly ink on a 110-pound Nina Smooth Solar White cardstock. I started by inking just the legs and then I extended the lines a bit with a 0.1 Copic pen. Next I cleaned the stamp and inked just the upper part of the body, being careful so that I wouldn't get any ink on the hula hoop. I used a black memento marker to color parts of the stamp that were harder to reach. And finally I drew the rest with the Copic pen from before. I stamped the t-shirt on some masking paper and fussy cut it to use it as a template in order to make the girl a longer and slightly wider t-shirt. I adhered it to some cute patterned paper and used the pen from before to draw the new shape. Here are the legs already colored in and the torso from before. I cut the head slightly smaller because I decided that it would be easier to just glue another head on top of the new t-shirt instead of trying to make the neckline fit perfectly. See what I mean? There's very little space to play with. So here's the new head and I've glued a cardstock circle to the back of it to give it a little bit of volume. Once again, I've used one of my beloved Dynamics band-aids for the mechanism. The smaller one was the perfect size for this card. I cut two of them in the same white cardstock. I also cut a strip that was 3 inches by 6/8 of an inch for the pull tab. I rounded the corners of one end with my crocodile corner jumper. I grabbed 3 small brads from my stash and used a piercing tool to make 2 holes in each of the band-aids. If you have this die, pay attention to where I'm piercing the die cut. And if you don't, you can download a template on my blog with the holes already marked. So on one end it's the middle of the 3rd row of holes from the edge, and on the other end it's the center hole of the 5th row from the edge. Okay, let's repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and the middle hole. There. Now I just need to attach the band-aids with a brad. I'm choosing the holes that are further away from the edge, loosely, so that the girl can dance. That's why I'm putting an old plastic card between the legs of the brad and the band-aids. I've already cut my card panel, which measures 4 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/8, using a faux stitched rectangle die. I've also stamped a funny sentiment from the Willy and Friends stamp set by Waffle Flower on it, and I've drawn a line in the middle of it. That way I can line up the mechanism perfectly. So I'm trying to see the line through the tiny holes of the band-aids. And now I'm going to pierce a hole through my panel to attach the band-aid to it. Maybe I should stop calling it band-aid and use a fancier term like linkage element. Now I'm repeating the same steps with the other end of the linkage mechanism and we can check if it moves. Yes, everything looks good, so we just need to attach the pull strip to the back of the mechanism with some double-sided tape. And it's a lot easier to do if we detach the brad. I'm just going to snip off a sliver of the band-aid with my scissors so that the pull tab can move freely. If you don't mind that the pull tab is visible, you can of course leave it like this, but I prefer to hide it, so I need to cut a curved slit in the card panel. I'm marking the movement of the pull tab with a pencil so that I can do it without interfering with the mechanism. I need to detach the brads again and use a circle die cut to trace a curve that I can cut out with a craft knife. Here I'm tracing the curve so that it's slightly wider than the movement of the pull tab, and now I just carefully cut the slit. Okay, the mechanism is totally finished, so I can insert the pull tab in the slit and attach the brads for the last time. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Everything is working, so let's continue. I've used this interactive die set by La Pareja Creativa to cut a set of curved arrows out of black cardstock with some stick-it adhesive on the back. Now I can easily adhere the arrow to the pull tab. It's time to assemble everything. Here are the legs that will go there. The torso with the colorful t-shirt. And the new head. I'm grabbing some tacky glue for the t-shirt and head, but any other liquid glue or even double-sided tape would be perfect for this. I think that the extra dimension that we added for the head looks great. I'm using a strip of foam tape to adhere the legs to the mechanism. We just have to remember to avoid the moving parts. Just checking to see that everything looks good before removing the backing of the tape. And here we go. The legs are in their place. I don't want any of the mechanism to show, so I'm just going to slim down the upper band-aid with a couple of cuts before gluing the torso to it. I'm using 2 layers of foam tape for this. That way the legs and torso can move freely. One last look at the stamp before completing the main character. I'm just going to attach the upper body straight instead of slightly slanted, like the stamp. Isn't it amazing how a simple mechanism like this one can make the girl dance? Okay, let's finish the card. I used this pretty striped paper from the Sweet Celebration paper pack and cut it to 4.5 by 5 6/8. My card base measures 9 by 5 6/8 of an inch, and I of course scored it at 4.5. I always apply a generous amount of double-sided tape to my card bases. Once again, I've grabbed a pencil to mark the movement of the pull tab, this time on the back of the card, so that I can avoid applying foam tape to that area. I'm also going to avoid the brads. The last step, which I didn't record, was adding some pink notes to the card panel, and that's it. The card is finished. Let's see it in action one last time. I hope you liked today's tutorial. For additional information like the complete list of materials and measurements, just head on over to my blog. There's a link in the description box. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye bye.